Hello everyone. In this video we are going to discuss interpretation of results of direct shear test. So first we will briefly discuss the direct shear test. The direct shear test is conducted in an apparatus called consolidometer. This apparatus is divided into two halves. The soil sample is placed in consolidometer and a normal stress, say P1, is applied. Now the lateral stress is applied at a constant rate of strain. So as the strain increases, the lateral stress on the sample also increases, and at a particular value of lateral stress, the soil sample fails at the middle layer along this horizontal plane. So first graph we are going to plot is lateral stress versus lateral strain. So stress strain curve. A stress strain curve is the plot between the shear stress, that is lateral stress tau, and the shear displacement delta H by L. In case of dense sand and over consolidated clays, the shear stress attains a peak value at a small strain. So here in the figure we can see that in case of dense sand, the shear stress attains peak value even at a small strain. With further increase in strain, the shear stress decreases slightly and becomes more or less constant, known as ultimate stress. In case of loose sands and normally consolidated clays, the shear stress increases gradually and finally attains a constant value known as the ultimate stress or residual strength. So here in the figure we can see that for loose sand, the shear stress increases gradually. It has been observed that the ultimate shear stress attained by both dense and loose sand tested under similar conditions is approximately the same. Generally, the failure strain is 2 to 4% for dense sand and 12 to 16% for loose sand. Here, the figure shows volume changes with an increase in shear strain for CD test, that is consolidated drain test. Since the cross-sectional area of this specimen remains unchanged, the volume change is proportional to the change in thickness measured by the dial gauge. In case of dense sand and over consolidated clays, the volume first decreases slightly, but it increases with the further increase in strain. So here in the figure we can see that volume of dense sand initially decreases, but with further increase in strain it goes on increasing. In case of loose sands and normally consolidated clay, the volume decreases with an increase in shear strain. So here in the figure we can see that for loose sand, the volume continuously decreases. There is no increase in volume. The figure also shows the curve for the medium dense sand. So one thing we should keep in mind that for a particular experiment, value of normal stress is kept constant and value of shear stress and shear strain is changed. So this variation in shear stress and strain is plotted in the form of stress strain curve and also in the form of this volume versus strain curve. But if we change the value of normal stress, different graphs will be obtained for the stress strain curve. So for n number of value of normal stress, n different graphs will be obtained. But these different experiments with the different values of normal stresses can be summarized in the form of failure envelope. So for obtaining failure envelope, a number of identical specimens are tested under different normal stresses. The shear stress required to cause failure is determined for each normal stress. The failure envelope is obtained by plotting the points corresponding to shear strength at failure for different normal stresses and joining them by a straight line. The inclination of failure envelope to the horizontal gives the angle of shearing resistance phi, and its intercepts on the vertical axis is equal to the cohesion intercept C. So here in this graph the point C indicates which is y-intercept of the failure envelope gives the value of cohesion intercept. For dense sand, the failure envelope can be drawn either for peak stress or for ultimate stress. The values of the parameter phi and C for the two envelopes will be different. For loose sands, the failure envelope is drawn for ultimate stress, which is usually taken at shear stresses at 20% shear strain. The direct shear test can also be interpreted in terms of Mohr circle. In direct shear test, the stresses on planes other than horizontal plane are not known. It is therefore not possible to draw Mohr circle at different shear loads. However, the Mohr circle can be drawn at the failure condition, assuming that the failure plane is horizontal. So, hence, in case of direct shear test, Mohr circle can be drawn only at the failure condition. Here in the above figure, we can see a Mohr circle is drawn with point A indicating minor principal stress sigma 3, point D indicating major principal stress sigma 1. The Mohr circle touches the failure envelope at point B. A horizontal line is drawn from point B, which intersect the Mohr circle at point P, which is pole, that is origin of plane. So, AP represents minor principal plane and PD represent major principal plane. And the figure at the bottom indicate the stresses condition in the soil sample. Since the cross section of the soil sample is rectangular, the middle portion indicates the failure plane, means soil sample fails along the horizontal plane at the center. Sigma 3 indicates the direction of minor principal plane, whereas sigma 1 indicates the direction of major principal plane. Thank you.